working with the other community groups that are involved in healthcare. So that, for example, on our website, there is a health component of it where you can go and link into all those resources, do the doctor finder, talk about all of that type of online information that is available, and then teach all of the other staff how to use that information. The object of the idea is not just to reach the few number of people that are going to reach you as a reference librarian, but the enormous number of people who might want that type of information and have it available to them. So that the position has become one of, instead of you sitting back, it's the kind of push me, pull me aspect of IT. Instead of it being one of passively waiting for people to come to you, you're pushing those resources as much as you can out to the people who actually require it and need it. By the way, and I'm going to digress into one of my favorite stories, which is my 18-year-old son, the one who would be a great librarian. He suffers from a particular physical condition, which he's the first person in Canada who has been declared cured of this. Up until him, every one of them died in their teens as a form of cancer. He is cured because it was recognized at a particular point in time, early enough that it could be corrected, and he's the first one that was recognized as that. When they named the condition at McMaster University Health Sciences condition, and then the doctor said, realizing that I'm a librarian because I knew him, he said, don't look it up. Well, duh, So I ran into my library, looked at the print resources, which basically said my son was going to die, Then I looked at the electronic resources, and they told about the most recent research, and the doctor found it too, so it wasn't just me that found it, that talked about a new process and a new procedure which, if caught in time, could save his life, and they did. So what I sometimes talk about is which one was friendlier, the book or the electronic resource. It is the format of the material that I needed was the most recent material, and that proved to be the electronic one. So, when we interview people, I'm going to try to do this quickly, is we will ask you to do a presentation, and that presentation skills are a large part of that. We will ask you to do a written assignment because we are tired of hiring people based on a beautiful cover letter only to discover that their spouse has written that letter, their mother has written that letter, or that somebody else has written that letter. So we will put them in a room for 45 minutes and ask them to write a report given these facts, and they will have no access to the internet or to anything else. They will have to use it within that machine, and we want to see if they can produce a written report. We will probably ask you about your strengths, and I like the comment that is there about individual strengths. I really believe in this sort of Rath book on Know Your Strengths. I can tell you mine. I'm a learner, individualization, arranger, maximizer, and achiever. And I can tell you for all 6 of the senior admin team, I think a couple of them are here at 6:30, they can tell you their own. And we know each other's, and we know the strengths of absolutely every one of the librarians inside of our organization. So it is something that when you're putting teams together, you don't want everybody to be sort of part of the same team when you're beginning to do that. The last thing I'm going to sort of mention is, and I think it's probably a good indication of what other people have been mentioning about positivity, is there's a thing, and you can look it up, called, in fact, there's a Wikipedia article on it, called the Lasada line, and it's based on the research by Marcial Lasada, who's a behavioral scientist. And he also worked in combination with a very young scientist, Emily Heapry. So Lasada and Heapry, they're terrific articles, seminal article in 2004 that they did based upon their observations of 60 senior management teams in private sector corporations. They pre-divided the teams into very successful organizations based upon stock value, 360 feedback, surveys, various other things, medium successful, low successful. And what they really determined was that there were 4 indicators that seemed to determine when teams, or if you observe teams, you could determine if they were, well, it doesn't say that they're going to be successful, but there are characteristics of those that within the successful organizations. And they were they positive in their comments towards each other? Did they ask questions about other people's projects instead of just advocate for their own? And did they ask even about other people? How was your weekend? As opposed to telling people about your own weekend, going back to your comments. The 4th component, and this is one that Lasada really did on his own without Emily Heapry, was, were people willing to consider many ideas or just the idea for the potential solution that they brought to the meeting in the first place? And based upon those 4 factors, they could determine whether or not the teams were likely to be successful, which is kind of an interesting thing because it sort of goes back to the comments that various people have made. I think the profession of librarianship has a great future. I kind of look forward to seeing everything that's going to happen within it. And I think that it's absolutely wonderful to see the enthusiasm in the faces. I hope that many of you can be in this position 35 years from now and speak of it with the same element of passion and enjoy it as much as I have.